ignition, fire in the hose. Removing the rear brake pads. 1/4 inch 12-point socket. These two here, the slider pins. Break those loose. In here. Alright, broke those loose. Now what you do now is take the rear master cylinder, brake master cylinder lid off. I don't know if y'all can see this. Try to look at that. I hope y'all can see all that. That's in the rear master cylinder. Jesus. Well, look like I'm gonna do a brake flush. Either way, let's change these pads out. Alright. I use like a little scraper. Go in here, get it in between the brake pad and the rotor without trying to gouge the rotor. I don't care about the brake pads because they're coming off. There you go. All you're doing is collapsing that piston inside there. Okay. Helps to have it off the ground, but you can use this if it's still on the ground. You just work it a lot harder. Then I use a little thicker one to make sure that I got it back. Yeah. Close I can get it. So, pull the pins out. Let's see if this pad will come out. And it don't want to. Goodness gracious. Well, try the back one. Alright, lined up. Stick it in here between. Let's see. All right, collapsed it. So, what you do now is pull the pin, not all the way out, because you want to keep the anti-vibration spring inside here. You want to keep it in there. So, one rear brake pad. Well, it didn't have much thickness left in that one. And that's been in there a while. Now what you want to do is make sure the orientation of the brake pads, when you take one out, eyeball it to make sure you put the correct one back in. Alright, so try not to touch here on the brake pad itself, the oil off your hands. If your hands are real dirty, it'll contaminate it. But before I put that in there, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use some brake clean. Trying to clean some of that up. I'm out. You can. So now, put that brake pad in. Hope you get everything lined up correctly. Hopefully we got that in. What I like to do is, when I get the rear brake pad in, go ahead and tighten this down just a little bit. Where that rear brake pad won't fall out. Then you pump up the back brake. So what you want to do is push those hammers back out, or those pistons back out against that brake pad. It fills up that side, holds firmly against the rotor, so I can change out the front one when I pull the pins completely out. So hopefully those rear brake pads stay in. I want you to see this. I'll get my light positioned here. Best way before it falls in the reservoir. Let's see if I can do this. Hold y'all there. See if y'all see it. Right there. Alright, watch this. I hope y'all saw that. Goodness. Alright. Now if you see here in the rear, if you can, that piston pushed that rear brake pad all the way against the rotor. So now we're going to pull the pin and remove this front one. Alright kiddos, don't do this at home. Come on. Where are you going right now? Where's my screwdriver? almost there. Goodness gracious. And that's what I thought. Alright, it's hard to tell, but if you squint an eye, you can see that this rotor is sitting on this side. It's not center of that brake caliper, or that rotor. That's going to be fun trying to put a new one back in. Woo. Well, everything's spaced out. Right, let me look at that situation over again and see what if I have any fluid to go in that, so I can flush all that out. Yep, that's what I was afraid of. The reason why my brake caliper or my rotor wasn't centered, it had the wrong spacer in it. The spacer here that goes between the wheel and the caliper bracket. It was too short, so it shoved everything over here, which you go tighten it down where it's supposed to be, it locks up the back wheel. To release it, you only got maybe a half nut over here and a big space. So now I'm got to find the correct spacer now. I'm just dying to see what kind of fluid we're going to get out of that rear master cylinder. So I'm going to take it out and clean it up because I didn't like what I saw, and drain everything out of the rear slave cylinder, and we'll put in new. Come on. There we go. Alright, got me an old pie pan. Go take one out of your wife's pantry, because they come in handy. Already, that's what I got so far. Now, let's see if we can find a socket to take that out. First, I'm gonna go over here and pull this clevis pin. Nut out. Pull this out, hopefully, without spilling it everywhere. Let's go to the table and find out what we got. Hey. Look at that. You see all that? Hey. clean all that up. Look at that slime. Ugh. Well, that's it. Imagine what the caliper looks like. Rear master cylinder hooked back up. Got my line back hooked back up. So now I'm adding brake fluid to it, and I'm doing a what you call a bench bleed. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fill this line up. I got my bleeder up here open, and just small little strokes. Well, you get the idea. I'm just trying to fill up majority of this line, you know, suck down the fluid inside here. So now I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna go get my brake bleeding kit and hook it up back here. After my second refill, all I'm doing now is I'm pushing all the fluid up through the bleeder down through here to my little catcher. So that's what I'm doing now. So what I want to do is I'm going to flush out all the old and keep putting new in.
There we go.
We got brake. So we'll fill this up, top it off. About maybe 1/4 inch up to 1/8 inch to the top. So now we put the top back on. Alright, this is going to be fun.
Put the cap back on. Come on, there you go. Right on, keep on it.
Just give it a good little squish and you're done. As soon as I find it. That feels good. That felt good. So now, guess what? That brake pedal don't, right there. It doesn't come all the way down anymore. Rear brake done.